going to go to the papers. Guess what we're talking about? Yes, of course, Emmanuel Macron's speech to the nation yesterday, in which he attempted, and many say failed, to appease tensions over pension reforms. Dipti's been looking at the reaction for us, Dipti.
Well, Stuart, Emmanuel Macron did try and defend his pension reform program and also insisted that they are necessary, an argument that he stuck to for many months now in that speech. He also, notably in that speech, announced new plans, new reforms in a bid to sort of move forward from this pension reform agenda. And as the right-wing paper L'Opinion notes, pretty much make everyone forget about the pension reforms. Of course, that's not going to happen anytime soon. In any case, the president has given himself 100 days to usher in these proposed new changes concerning things like employment, law and order, but also, as I said, employment. The cartoonist CAC sort of having a laugh today on L'Opinion's front page. As you see Macron there trying in vain to blow out candles that are made out of, I guess, social dynamite. Even another right-wing paper, Le Figaro, is fairly critical of Emmanuel Macron's comments in that speech, doubting whether it is as simple as that to reverse a situation that is so critical, the paper writes in its editorial this morning. Meanwhile, the left-wing paper, this is the communist paper L'Humanité, which accuses Emmanuel Macron of sidestepping the issue of pension reforms and trying to focus on this 100-day plan. The paper accuses him of being, quote, totally disconnected from the violent rejection of his pension reforms by French people. And you also have Libération, another left-wing paper today, which simply says on its front page, Le Grand Vide, essentially calling Emmanuel Macron's hollow and empty story.
Let's go to the other big news story this week. This is the renewed violence in Sudan, which has killed dozens, injured over 1,000 people.
Well, in a battle for the control of the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, the country has indeed been the theater of renewed and deadly violence in the past days. The head of the army, Sudan's de facto leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, is battling Hemedti, who leads the Rapid Support Forces paramilitaries. Now, that conflict is really the focus of the Illustrated Press today. Stuart, this is from Emad Hajjaj, a Jordanian cartoonist who published this excellent illustration of what he sees as two armed dinosaurs there representing those two personalities in Sudan, fighting it out while any hopes of peace or democracy, as you see here, are sort of crashing to the ground. You have another very striking cartoon from this cartoonist here, Geert Royaerts. He's a Dutch cartoonist who sees the battle as a deadly arm wrestle between these two personalities once again. And you see in the background there the city, the streets strewn with bodies and blood and violence. So the lives of ordinary Sudanese people being upended by this new flare in violence. Stuart.
Yeah, some good cartoons there. From cartoons to photographs. A photographer, in fact, who was awarded a major prize for his work. He has, though, refused the accolade after admitting his entry was actually artificial intelligence creation.
Well, it's on the front page of The Guardian today. This is the photo here. This is by German cartoonist Boris Eldagsen. He entered his artwork, I say that in quotation marks, because, of course, it was actually an AI creation called Pseudamnesia, the Electrician. It won the Creative Open Category Award last week in the Sony World Photography Awards. Upon learning that he'd won, Eldagsen admitted his work was an AI creation and in the process, of course, left the jury rather red-faced. The jury says that the artist had mentioned that his work involved some elements of AI, but they say that he misled them about the fact that it was actually 100% artificial intelligence. In any case, the photographer says he wanted to start a dialogue, and he certainly has done that in this case, about how AI can insidiously or not influence photography of the world. But we also have, you'll see on the top left-hand corner here of The Guardian today, it is talking about coronation quiche, Stuart. It is what King Charles has unveiled as his signature dish for his upcoming coronation ceremony. A dish personally chosen by the King himself and Queen Camilla. It's made up of spinach, broad beans, cheese, and tarragon. Queen Elizabeth's signature dish was, of course, coronation chicken, inspired by an Indian-style creamy curry sauce. So compared to that, King Charles's coronation quiche sounds rather underwhelming, it must be said. But maybe it's very appropriate for these difficult, austerity-driven times that we're living in, Stuart.
Both sound pretty tasty to me, I have to say. Finally from Dipti, City of New York, been there perhaps? Perhaps you live there, I don't know. Home to millions of people and millions of rats. So far, so much so rather, that the first Rat Czar has now been appointed.
That's right, it's not a rat, it's a human. Her name is Kathleen Corradi. She'll be leading the good fight against New York's ubiquitous population. They are, of course, very intelligent creatures, and they're actually notoriously clean, but they are also vectors of diseases. Here's a gross statistic for you, Stuart. From 1950 to 2014, New York's rat population increased by 800%. They've been known to scatter across your feet in the subway or even fall from the ceilings. The question now is how to deal with this population, because the sniff them out and kill them strategy has not worked so far. So she may need hybrid strategies like cutting off their food sources and using new technology to detect and exterminate New York's rat population.
Yeah, thanks, Stevie. I think we've got several Rat Czars here in the building, but they're nothing to do with rodents, I don't think. Anyway, Dipti with the papers on France 24.